Good morning, everyone. This is Professor Alman Ra, Professor Emeritus, California State University of Long Beach, and shortly I'm sure I'll be joined by brother and historian Joe Hembrick, as well as on the air is the good doctor, as well as Rashaki, the founder of Community Education Network. And we want to thank those of you that are chiming in or listening in to the various subjects we're going to be discussing this evening on this day of the week of 9/11 and the challenges that America faced in 9/11, and it's tied to the Afghanian war with regards to why they went in to go after bin Laden and to go after, to make sure that Al-Qaeda could not organize to attack America. Secondly, we're going to be discussing, and firstly, really, we're going to be discussing the abortion law along with 9/11 that affects Black people in a very challenging way, because it goes beyond just abortions in Texas. There's a Mississippi law that's also going to be heard by the Supreme Court probably this session when they come back, that restricts abortions. And the majority of Black people in the South are affected by these two states. And if other states are already, many other states are already adopting the Texas law that the Supreme Court did not rule on and did not even have a discussion on, to undermine Roe versus Wade and abortion law that said that women and their doctors can make that decision as to if a woman could elect, or a family could elect, husband and wife, or to abort a child for whatever reasons that the doctor and they can come to terms on. Then we're going to also discuss a recall, which is very important, trying to motivate and inspire African Americans, as well as the community as a whole, to vote and hopefully vote to keep the governor in, and vote no and go. That's what the majority of Black leaders and Black people that are part of the Democratic process and Democratic Party are asking Black people to do. And Black people will be playing a critical role in the recalled election. And we're going to get into those discussions. So let's first start with abortion, because many people have a tendency to think abortion is not related to Black people. What Texas did was pass a law saying that within 6 weeks of being pregnant, if a woman cannot get an abortion if she's 6 weeks pregnant, even if she even if she just found out, or that's an issue. That most women say that, they don't know they're pregnant until almost close to 20 weeks, 30 weeks sometimes. And so the 6 week throws people off. The other thing is that it says that any person can get a reward for turning in anyone that knows, that helps discuss to a certain degree or advise a person to get an abortion in the state of Texas. they can be sued by people who may live in Alaska or live in Mexico or in Russia and get a $10,000 reward, and people are referring to that as a bounty. And then there are so many restrictions with regards to this law in Texas. And what people are arguing is that it's all to undermine Roe versus Wade in the Abortion Act that has been approved since 1970 something, and that's their attempt to get around the law by saying that it's not the state or the politicians, it's individuals that's doing it. So therefore, there's no case, and there's no way that where the Supreme Court is arguing that you can't hold nobody liable because it's not the state or a hospital or any governmental institution or individual representing the government that's preventing an abortion. And so a lot of people are very upset about this because it has far-reaching, like I said, it's all designed to undermine Roe versus Wade in the Abortion Act that allowed women to get abortions and even get subsidized in certain cases if they didn't have the money and things of that nature. So this is a very critical issue. I don't know how many people feel. I mean, most people are pro-life, you know, for religious reasons, pro-life because they think every life, but they even said that if a young girl is raped by her father or relative, she can't get an abortion. If a young girl is, if it meant that her life or the baby life, she can't get an abortion. These are the critical issues that this thing will face. But more than likely, you have to go back all the way to breeding farms during the Holocaust of enslavement, that once they passed anti-human trafficking laws back in those days in the 1800s, and they couldn't bring more Africans from the continent of Africa. To get around that, they set up breeding farms on many plantations because the agricultural market and the cotton market had grown and they needed laborers. So they would force and create an atmosphere like they create animals to breed so that they can have more animals. They were making Black people breed so that they can have slaves. And they rewarded women who could have the most babies. It didn't make no difference who the father was. They'd make the brother lay down with the mama. They'd make it didn't matter. All they wanted was babies because they didn't see. And even though they knew Black people were human, they treated them like they weren't. That's very critical because, again, it's a way of the system using its power to determine the sexual activities and the mating and the reproductive aspects of Black people in this country through breeding farms. Then in the, back in the 1800s as well as all the way up to the 20s, they started sterilization, sterilizing Black women, minorities, and handicapped people, and labeling Black people with feeble minds, and they would sterilize them under the auspices of that it was very critical that we don't allow them to have children. And then in the 1900s, they started eugenics. That also was a part of a sterilization project where Black women were forced into sterilization by various states, California being one, I think they say Boston may have made the first law. New York, all 31 states had sterilization laws, and they mainly were supposed to target those with feeble minds, but then they drift into race. And then the third thing is that they wanted to have a breeding form for white folks to breed their top intelligent people with the Shockley theory that, you know, they wanted to create a super white race and or an aspect of white people being more intelligent by getting the best white minds to taking their sperms and starting sperm banks. All of this is about regulation of sexual activity and restrictive and control specifically of Black people and their sexual activity. Another aspect of birth control and population control is the incarceration of Black men. Without Black men, Black women can't have a bunch of babies. When they were in the South, a lot of them had babies because they all worked in the farm, they all worked in the field. But then as they got off that and got into the industrial society and demanded equal pay, went out and fought wars. They fought in every war for this liberation. But at the same time, they wanted to, as I was saying, a way of controlling the Black population in America, because people would say, well, you know, why aren't we having more babies? Because a lot of men are locked up in prison, and a lot of women are locked up. So therefore, they can't get to each other to have babies. And then at the same time, the cost of raising children and have deterred a lot of Black people from having children with regards to the cost of college, the cost of just raising a child to have the best that they can have. Most Black people go to public schools, and then going to public schools, that's critical. But, and getting back to the abortion, rich white folks can go anywhere they want to. They can go on vacation and get an abortion. But Black people, because of their economic status, are stuck and cannot. And they're being denied the right to, regardless of their condition and regardless of their belief that women should be able to control their own bodies. Now, white folks are telling white folks, don't make us wear masks. We are free. We must control our own bodies. To wear masks to stop COVID from spreading. But these same white people support telling women they don't control their body when it comes down to abortion. And so those are the contradictions. Like October's coming up, people gonna put masks on their kids to go get candy, but they ain't gonna put no masks on their kids to go to school to save their life. So there are many contradictions with regards to that. So that's the first subject that we was gonna cover. And I wanted to see if there's any response or questions anybody have. Brother Mashinda? You there?
Hello there. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Good evening. Yeah. No, not really. I guess it's kind of more the same. I guess in terms of like you say, it's kind of ironic that they try to control one's body, females' bodies, things like that. But at the same time, they have a problem with other things, like you say, face coverings and different things like that. I just agree with you on that, in terms, or this is very I think hypocritical, but it's more or less setting up kind of a bounty hunter system for civilians to go and, kind of keep an eye on the abortion clinics and the doctors that are performing. I hear that they even going to, they won't punish the young lady goes and gets an abortion. Supposedly she can't be sued, but the people involved, like the doctor, or if you took her to the clinic, the people that participated, and I even heard that they said like Uber and Lyft, they're gonna, they'll pay for the legal costs if they transport a female to the clinic and they get busted, so to speak. You know what I mean? They will. Of course, there'll be some legal proceedings. So the bottom line is, every time you have to defend yourself as a doctor, you got to pay the cost. You got to get you a lawyer. You got to defend yourself. And so they're circumventing the Constitution, and nothing new under the sun. And it's terrible, whether you believe in abortion or not. You know what I'm saying? If we got rules, we got rules, and we can fight it, through our legislators and through our local people to get politically active and try to make change. But in the meantime, it's clear what their agenda is. And so I'm just listening. Thank you for your presentation.
All right. We're gonna have 3 more on the Afghan war, the recall. So stay on, Lucinda. Doctor, what do you have to say about abortion? You for, against it, or what's going on with the Texas law?
No, like Lucinda said, I kind of agree with everything you said. But it's, you look at it, who is targets. Abortion targets blacks. The reason is, they want to kill black babies. That's why our numbers are low. You take a religious part out of it, man, and you have a different whole aspect view on it. My part, man, years ago, I'll be for, hey, a woman has a right, this and that. But now, at my age now, and the things I've been through, I look at it as, hey, man, it's just a legal way to kill more black kids, man. They don't want black people around. Look at all the abortion clinics. Majority are in black neighborhoods, minority neighborhoods. Like you said, the abortion clinics are for blacks, and the fertility clinics are for whites. They shame us. They shamed us into having abortions, not having kids. It's like you said, you lock up the black men, so you can't have kids, and it's just wild how they brainwashed us into thinking that, hey, we stand up for women's, guns that, when in actuality, behind the scene, they're killing black kids, man. That's what it all comes down to. And I was, when it came out, the thing, the Texas thing, and you sit here and think, oh man, they're taking away your rights, but hey, I'm for it. Stop abortion, man. Stop abortion, you have a lot more black people born. You need the numbers.
Okay. Sister Aziza, did you have any comments on abortion? The Texas law?
No, not at this moment.
All right. Brother Hendrick, you have any comments?
Yes, sir. I have a different spiel on the reasoning behind, the European, wanting to do away with it. Basically because he see his numbers low. We're talking about black people's numbers are low. Actually, theirs are also. And they see what's happening in this country in a few years, they're gonna be a minority. And so I think that's somewhat their reason, for wanting to do away with it, abortion, because actually in the world, he's a minority already. They only make up 9 to 11% of the world population. Everybody else, the 89% is black, brown, red, and yellow people. So, as Dr. Cress Welsing say, or Dr. Clark says, the European sperm bank is bankrupt. So, they want as many babies as possible. And just to comment on, back in the day in the 70s, I remember when I was a college student, sisters would get, a lot of abortions back in those days because they were going to college, they were trying to become professionals in the world, and they were doing it kind of voluntarily. I think I'm personally myself probably could have had about 5 more children, due to that situation. But I know that sisters back during those days that were having abortions, later on in life when they tried to have kids, I don't know what those doctors were doing to them, but a lot of them weren't able to have them after that. But anyway, that's just my take on it. I think if a person is raped, they have to deal with incest and that sort of thing. It should be viable, but people ought to just take more precautions. Like if you don't want to have no children, don't want to get pregnant, then you need to do something about it before you get busy, in my opinion. With all the stuff that's out there disease-wise and whatnot in the last couple of decades, AIDS and herpes and all this old kind of, just STDs, period, is a dangerous situation for everyone, really. But anyway, that's just my take on it. As far as abortion goes, I think that they're trying to save themselves more so than destroying us. That's my take on it, because like I say, it's not that many of them, and they see these Latinos and others in this country moving in on them. And like I said, next by 2050, something like that, in California by 2030, they're gonna be a minority here. So that's something that's why they're doing a lot of stuff they're doing anyway, because they don't want to become a minority right here. So that's the reason that they do a lot of stuff that they do. So that's just my take on it. All right.
You raised some critical issues, some good issues about the European and his sperm capability and his desire to try to import more white people, as well as encourage women to have fertility pills. They're having quadruplets and things of this nature. And there may be some validity to it, but one of the issues that they look at as far as abortions is concerned is that the religious aspect of it. The evangelicals, as well as many of those in Catholicism, really discourage all forms of abortion, except for when they're in political life. They have to go along with what they call the law. And so they worked and worked and worked, and Trump appointed individuals who one of their primary goals was to overthrow a Roe versus Wade Planned Parenthood laws, and they were fighting in the 70s, bombing abortion centers, assassinating doctors. So they want to keep the baby alive but kill the older people. And getting back to the point that life is they even created a law whereas you don't have to abort the baby. Once you have the baby, if you don't want it, you take it to a fire station or a police station, and you won't be liable criminally for the baby, and they would put the baby up for adoption. Many white people are going across rather than going through pregnancies because they can't use midwives like they used to, and sperm banks and things of this nature. They're going and they're adopting babies. Some are adopting African babies, but more likely they're adopting Russian babies and German babies, blonde hair and blue-eyed babies, and from other places. The point is that Black people from our standpoint, are challenged with the Texas and the Mississippi law because it's deep in the South and it affects those that do not have the money to go out of state to have an abortion, or if it becomes, and then if in the more states, especially what they call Republican-ran states, pass these laws, the further they have to go and the more expensive it would be. And it sets up a disadvantage to the poor for that option. And as Machinda said, hiring bounties, your own relative will turn you in for 10 grand. If you got a debt or want to buy a house or get a car, your cousin, anybody that can get the 10 grand, anonymously as a bounty hunter, or just heard that you was getting an abortion, or set you up for all that those things is happening.
If I could chime in on before we move on from abortion, you were talking about the church and Catholicism and the religious organizations and all that. I attended Loyola Marymount University, the Jesuit Catholic institution, and they got priests and nuns mostly as the professors, and they were doing some construction out there where they were building new buildings. And so they had to tear one down. I was talking to a sister that worked in the registrar's office at the time. And when they tore down this area, to build new buildings, they found hundreds of fetuses that these nuns had that they, I guess, aborted some kind of way and buried them. And when they started the process of this new building, all this was revealed and came out. Either the priests is doing each other or they doing the nuns. But anyway, I think this religious stuff, they get the people to buy in on those factors. But I think the powers that be, they ain't really tripping on that. It's all about that paper and taking people's land. That's all that crap is about. But they get the rank and file to believe with all their heart these issues that they throw out there. For example, love the children and all that, but the priest is having sex with them all the time. So, this is a bunch of propaganda as far as I'm concerned. The bottom line is about that dollar, and I still think that they're trying to increase their numbers so that they don't disappear around there. Because we know anytime you mix white paint with any other kind of paint, we know what happens. So I'm done with the abortion thing. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Yeah, and it's critical because the word nun means that you don't. That's where they got the word nun from. That they do not have sexual activity, intercourse, and the term father for priests, and they supposed to be celibate and doing their priesthood once they become priests and in the Catholic Church. But how can you call them father if they're not biological fathers? And then at the same time, you have to recognize that, as Joe pointed out, the contradiction, human nature, the urge to suppress your urge for sex is very challenging. And, it creates a lot of psychological problems. A lot of people feel that anal sex is not intercourse, oral sex is not sexual activity via Clinton, and the same thing with those people that go into anal sex that says that, that's not an intercourse. And then priests having sex with young boys. They only consider that intercourse is with women. So they still think they're following their scripture. Know how diabolic it is. But anyway, unless someone have a critical point to make on abortion, we're gonna move toward the Afghanistan war and see what people have to say about that. and the pullout and what it means with regards to 9/11 and the Afghanistan war. We'll put them two together. Should, the effect of 9/11 on what does it mean to the Black community and how it went down, and what does the Afghanistan war pull out, and participation in the military of Black people to advance the interests of America worldwide. So, Mashenda, you have anything to say about that? Mashenda? Yeah.
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Yeah.
No, not right now. As far as the Afghan war, I'm gonna pass right now. I may chime in a few, but not right now. Thank you.
Okay. What about 9/11?
Professor Rob,
Yes.
I wanted to ask a few questions. I wanted to get into something when it comes to 9/11.
All right, go ahead.
Mashinda, you have anything related to 9/11 you want to say before?
No, go ahead, man. You good.
Okay, so I've talked to a few people this past weekend about 9/11. And one thing about the whole situation, when that day up, I remember it clearly when it happened. And I remember the day. And I remember my neighbor coming out saying that something's going on with, we under attack. So I looked at the situation and I immediately said, how did the United States allow some planes to run into their main financial buildings, then also hit the Pentagon? So immediately with my thought process, I said, something's fishy about that. So with that being said, I don't know how many people on here that's into conspiracy theories, but my first initial thoughts are, ain't no way. So I say that how it affects Black people, how everything else affects Black people. The original intent of us being in the United States was for us to be of service. And I would say that most people are in that service to this power structure, like mentioned throughout all of you guys speaking about, things that was going on with this abortion law. No matter what's going on, it's always to the benefit of the people that's in control. So, all I say is we're in a smorgasbord of mess, and it's totally ridiculous. And I mean, everybody's making great points, but it's tough to swallow all that's going on with this when you have a institution like the United States and the power structure of the world that just don't care nothing about anybody. We just commodities, and it's terrible. But go ahead, Professor Rock. I just wanted to say that.
All right, that's a good point. You raised some good issues. Brother Doctor, what's your position on this 9/11 and Afghanistan war?
Like I said earlier, like Rashkeet just pointed out, I wasn't really following any of our wars. I was always at work. But like you said, the 9/11 thing, like Rusky said, they knew. I kind of know for inside fact they knew, and they came out reports that they knew there was a plan to use planes to attack buildings. And one thing a lot of people don't understand, and I've been part of it in groups. You have all these law enforcement think tanks. I was involved in one where it was a group of us, about 50, 60 of us. They break us in groups, and you sit there and think about how can you basically bring terror, just bring some kind of attack, and everybody gets a scenario. You get your little group leaders, and each group will come up with attack, some kind of attack you would do to kill a lot of people. And my group, and this, what year was this? It had to be over about 8 years ago. The group I was in, one of the guys came up with the kind of attack that happened in Vegas with the guy shooting from the window into the crowd. And that was similar to what my little group came up with. Go with Roskillo. They knew you have think tanks right now thinking about the next attack. What's the worst thing you can do to casualties? And right now, I'm gonna tell you guys, America is panicking right now because when COVID hit, this has made America one of the weakest countries in the world now. Now you can attack America. You don't need planes, bombs, knives, weapons. All you gotta do is get on the plane or come over here with a disease that's transmitted by a virus that's transmitted by air, and you will wipe out a lot of people. In the future, the next attacks are going to be virus attacks. They're sitting there thinking this now. They're thinking of what disease. They're looking at all diseases, all viruses right now, thinking if someone got in the wrong hands and came over here, and this was a spread, how many people would die? They've been like Bill Gates knew it. They've been planning all this stuff all along. They do little mock models. But to go back to 9/11 and the Afghan war, I think all this ground stuff is going to be over pretty soon because now we're going to be fighting virus attacks. I think in the next 4 or 5 years, it's going to be a major virus attack again. And we already know who's not going to take the vaccine. And it's going to be some more crap coming out, people to take. And I think that's going to be a new form of war, virus attacks, man.
All right. Thanks, Doc. Aziza, you have any comments on any of those issues?
No, not at this moment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Brother Joe?
Yeah, several on this Afghan and 9/11 thing. First of all, the higher echelon, law enforcement in the United States, CIA, FBI, they were, they were aware that these people came into the country and were taking flight classes and all of this and that. And from what I understand, one agency didn't turn it over to the other agency after the people graduated and got their little permits to fly. Then first, after it occurred and they start talking about where the people came from that did the attacks, out of the 22, about 17 of them were from Saudi Arabia. So why the United States attack Saudi Arabia? I think I talked about this on an earlier show. But it's always an underlying reason why that's not spoken about. Just like when they attacked Iraq, they got weapons of mass destruction. They didn't find a firecracker, but they still went in there. oil was the thing there. And then with Afghanistan, about the biggest export they have is heroin. You know, the heroin trade is a multi-billion-dollar trade around the world. You know, anytime they come out with something, we got to take it with a grain of salt and see what's really going on. Like when they ran into the towers and then they ran into the Pentagon. I had a partner was in the CIA. He's since made his transition, and he was in there helping getting people out the Pentagon at the time. And when the plane went down in Pennsylvania, he told me on the QT that that plane didn't go down. He said the government took it down because they didn't know what the plane was going to do. So about these, you know, these guys saying let's roll and all that, and cause the plane to crash. That ain't how I got the story to be. But anyway, probably shouldn't be saying that on the air. But anyhow, it comes down to this. Like old Dr. Clark said, Europeans have always wanted things other people had, thought they couldn't do without, and they don't want to pay for it. They take what they want. And as far as their, you know, destruction of humanity and all the aspects of that goes back to that theory of Urugu. That's who he is, to cause disharmony and trying to destroy nature. That's his aim. That's why everything's so messed up now with the climate change, and water ain't good, air ain't good, ground ain't good. They depositing stuff all over the world, or use pesticides and with this radioactive waste that they're using. Where are they putting that? Down in the mountains, in the Appalachian Mountains and all that, just putting barrels down there. You know, that stuff and in the ocean, that stuff's gonna come back and bite you. And I think the Neteru is letting the man know who's really in charge by the things that's going on out there in nature, with nature striking back at what's being done to her. So that's all I have to say.
Appreciate what's been said, if I understand it correctly. And I agree with what everyone said. I just want to add a few things. You know, first of all, you know, we have to pay homage and deference to those that lost their lives, especially the civilians in 9/11, because a lot of them were Black, you know, in New York. And a lot of, you know, we as Black people have always been the moral vanguard of the world. I mean, we started the first ethical principles way before there was a Constitution, and built civilizations of mutual harmony and love, as outlined in John G. Jackson's book, Introduction to African Civilization, and Diop's book. So, you know, we're the ones that try to bring civilization and enhance civilization. So, but when it comes down to indiscriminate violence, we've always spoke out against it. Martin Luther King spoke out against the Vietnam War, as well as Freda Payne came out with the song, Bring the Boys Home, and they blocked it on the radio, called it an American song. And then Edwin Starr came out with War, What Is It Good For? Absolutely Nothing. And they blocked that song, but we still pushed on. Now, when it comes down to 9/11, we recognize the calling out the names, the celebration, and rebuilding of the towers, and the rebuilding of the trying to lives. People are still suffering from it. Many of the first responders are still suffering from the toxic smoke that they inhaled, and they had to fight and sue to get the government, the people to pay for their hospitalization and loss of work. I mean, it's been a struggle on top of a struggle. So, you know that. Then it changed America traveling. You know, that's when TSA came into being. You know, I used to, when I was playing basketball, I used to carry my gun out to all the games. Now you can't get on a plane without a gun, without a permit, and being law enforcement or declaring the gun before you get on the plane. Make sure you can put it in sometimes in your luggage, and it's in the hull of the plane. But the point is that, you know, it changed people's lives in many ways with regards to that. People became anti-Arab, just like the anti-Asian about the flu, as the doctor was saying about, you know, people can bring a disease. Trump called it China. So those are critical issues. But the fundamental thing that they talk about that we have to ask ourselves, and that's what Fannie Lou Hamer said when she went to the 1964 Democratic Convention. She questioned America, and we have to question America. And we have to ask the question, the critical question, the moral and ethical question. Well, why would people get box cutters and pepper spray, get financed, as Joe said, by Saudi? They're bringing it out to some people from Saudi Arabia, both here and abroad, finance their whole situation, some of them. Why would they do that? What did America do to them or was doing to them to make them do that? You know, that's a hell of a question. It's easy to say, oh, you know, those are terrorists. But why are they terrorizing? What is the cause of that anger? That you would kill yourself? And like brother historian Joe said, drive into the business district, the Twin Towers, in the heart of the stock market and economic, international trade, the World Trade Center, as well as United Nations is in New York, and drive a plane into the buildings. And then at the same time, why would you go after the Pentagon, the military base? Those are the hallmarks of America: economics and military. And then on your way to the White House, and either shot down or driven down or crashed before it could get there. Had the president on the run. They had put him in a cave somewhere. And had Congress people running for their lives because they thought they were invincible. And they never thought that America could be bombed since Pearl Harbor, close to their situation. And so, you know, you have to ask that question that they don't like. They suppress the news, suppress information. When they first went into Iraq over Kuwait and bombed it, they had smart bombs, smart missiles. They were supposed to fight the Republican Guard, and they ordered 50,000 body bags because they believed they was going to go in. And they used technology, as the good doctor said, to bomb them. And bomb their family, bomb the capital. They dropped 3 bombs on Japan, all on the capital, where people, the civilians were, not where the soldiers were, where what you fighting for was, to take your heart out of it. So we look at that and we ask that fundamental question. Second, we say 9/11 is very important because so many Black people were joined up to go fight for America and defend America and fight the so-called, go after, they had 2 missions, go after Osama bin Laden and go after Al-Qaeda, who were they thought was responsible for the planes and the attack on America. And they accomplished that. It took them a little while to get bin Laden. They put a $20 million bounty on him, and eventually they got him under the Obama administration. Then after that, they were supposed to make sure that those that were hiding and supporting people of that organization that may have been a part of the bombing of the plot to attack America, make sure that that never happened. And they bragged and say, look, we did get Osama bin Laden, and we did, and America have not been attacked. I question that, because Boston was attacked after 9/11 with them two brothers at one of the parades. But they said there's been no more terrorist attack from abroad. That's what they're saying, and which they did. But why did they stay? Because their history of corrupting nations and taking over nations and exploiting nations go way beyond Afghanistan. They do it in Africa. That's why Africa cannot unite. Divide, corrupt the leaders, and run the country so that you can get the resources for corporations. Trump really negotiated the pull out of Afghanistan. He said it's one of them never-ending wars, and he met with the Taliban and made deals. They let out 5,000 people out of prison, and as a part of the agreement, and they were supposed to be out by May. Then after the election, none of that happened. So here come Biden, who was against the assassination of Osama bin Laden and the invasion in Iraq, and staying 20 years. And that's the good doctor said, whenever you fight a war 20 years, you losing. So it's not about losing. They were losing lives. And when they say they were spending trillions, they were spending it to themselves. They were paying the Afghanistan soldiers to fight with them. And at the same time, they tear down nations, and then they make the nations pay them to come and rebuild their nation after the bombing. They do it all over. You know, and that's why Vietnam is rebuilt. That's the game. So that 9/11 and that Afghanistan thing affect Black people because we join the service, make a career out of being in the service. Many of got every major Black community, and they played a major role in the American war. Don't need to come back here and get shot or get arrested or become homeless. It's just easy to love people who go out to die for you. When you want, and do good things for you, it's just like, you can tell your kids, look, we're gonna go to SeaWorld, Vegas, or the arcade in the morning. They get up and they be, Mom, we ready to go, we dressed, we ready to go. But if you tell me, hey, look, I want you to get up to wash dishes and cut the lawn, I hurt my leg, I can't get up. But as long as you're doing something good, people got energy. It's easy to love troops who go abroad and fight and die for you. But when they come back, do you love them? Do you care for them? And that's what have happened to many Black veterans. They went because they loved the country, patriotic, but the country didn't love them back. So we have to educate our young people to that reality of participation I know I didn't go. I wouldn't even join the Boy Scouts. So, you know, I wasn't about to go fight or go abroad. None of my brothers, I have 5 brothers, none of them was in the service. And I have 3 sons, and none of them ever been in the service. And I'm not saying I'm against Black people that go or send their kids. That's on them. I just know, you know, my political and cultural position is that I'm not going to participate and be exploited while people are murdered because of the color of their skin in this country, and we ain't never done nothing to them. And so that's with regards to that. Anybody have any comments on that conversation?
I have one question, Professor Wright, your opinion.
Yeah.
If COVID was a terrorist attack, if we say a couple years later and find out this was a terrorist attack, an act of war, how would that terrorist attack war stack up against 9/11, Afghanistan, Vietnam, World War I, World War II, all the wars in the past, if COVID was an act of war?
Well, you got to look at COVID a little different. Chemical warfare has always been a part of America. A bomb is a chemical process. If you look at chemical warfare, it would describe bomb fire. Using all of that is chemical warfare. Shooting a gun to make the bullet is a chemical process. And it's not the gun, it's the bullet that comes out of the gun. It's the bomb, it's not just the bomb, it's what's in the bomb. Napalm, various things. Using poison water, sending blankets to the Native American, and getting vaccine for your soldiers against smallpox, George Washington, and then at the same time, sending the blankets to the Native American and watching them to wipe them out. Poisoning water, poisoning the air, the climate. All of that's chemicals to a certain degree, killing the ozone. So you're correct, Doc, but the problem with COVID is worldwide. If you're saying they developed it just to attack America, no. I mean, you know, there are millions of people, there's over close to 6 million people have died throughout the world. In India, Brazil, I mean, Europe, even in China, you know, they were working on chemical things and germ warfare. That's what the neutron bomb was. That, you know, you can drop the bomb and it destroys everything. But it somehow, without destroying the property or something. But it takes the people a little while before they die. They say, well, that's why we can't use it, because that gives them time to drop the bomb back on us. So they wanted something instantly. They got what they call chemical labs. I mean, Einstein, that's what the atom bomb was about, chemical warfare. It's not just, they don't just need COVID. I mean, HIV could have been it, Ebola could have been it. You see, all of those are used as warfare. The testy fly, malaria, all of those things, untreated and intentionally inflicted on people. They used to talk about in Vietnam, women putting razors in their vagina so that when the men go in them, they cut themselves up. All of those are war, and there's no ethics in war. So you're right, doctor, they can use chemical warfare. And they do use chemical warfare to attack people without them knowing. Blowing up dams where the people can't get water. Right now, they're talking about if the Taliban don't work with them, there's going to be a famine there. There's going to be a famine there because they don't have food. They don't have food and stuff. So all of that is a critical issue with regards to chemical warfare. The lab that in Wuhan, I'll call you right back, Derek. The lab that the virus came out of, it was a joint project with the United States and China. They were working together on it, you know, and so yeah, we're in chemical warfare, just additives into our food. You know, that's what Dr. Goss was talking about. Why they say, get me some organic food. Because the preservatives, you know, and drugs, you know, cocaine grows as a leaf. The people in Peru and in Bolivia, they eat it. Here, they process it. And first they process it where you can snort it. Now they process it where you can smoke it. First it was a rich person drug. Now they made it where you can get $1 a rock. You know, it's just like McDonald's when they started out with 15-cent hamburger. You know, now it's $10 to get a burger. So, you know, things like that happen. And people are going. And so I agree with you about, you know, future chemical warfare is already here. It's already here. And as Joe, historian Joe always say, the destruction of nature is killing us. What they call that, the rainforest, all of those things that affect the atmosphere. But we as Black people, we take on the vulgar individualism of America. And that's why there's a hesitancy about Black people wanting to know. That's why I'm glad to hear you and Mashinda, because y'all think broad. You know, I know Brother Hendrick think broad about the world. You're not just thinking about yourself. But America, most Americans just think about themselves. They don't affect them directly. And then many Black people who choose to follow them feel the same way. I mean, you know, so we got to wake up and educate ourselves to global dynamics in order to try to have a position on it and to organize to save ourselves from ourselves. Shari, you have any, Sister Ziza, you have any comment? Doctor, did you want to rebuttal?
No, yeah, just kind of what you just said, you know, it just amazes me. You know, you talked about 9/11 earlier. And, you know, just amazing. I mean, I know about 4,000 people died in the 9/11 attacks there in New York. And like you said, you know, Joe, historian Hendrick talked about the plane that went down. But, you know, you have, you know, 4,000 there. I think it was total 4,000. But I think we had millions die, about a million died with this COVID thing. And, you know, when you see Joe, you saw the little, you know, this weekend you saw George Bush standing there, hey, we're going to get the people who did this. We got 1 million died of COVID. And it seems like nobody really trying to find out what really happened, except for this Rand guy. Like, so I don't follow politics, but I saw him going after Fauci, you know, trying to get saying, hey, this is Wuhan and all this. But like you just said, you know, Afghanistan didn't affect me. You know, all these Vietnam didn't affect, you know, me. I was, you know, just been born in. But, you know, Grenada and all these other wars, Iraq, Iran, all this didn't affect me. But COVID, like you just said earlier, it's affected the entire world. But it seems like no one wants to find out what really is the truth, man. And more people die, you know, like I said, I was trying to kind of compare it. Of all the wars that's happened, it seemed like COVID, man, has been the most scariest thing, you know, in my lifetime. You know, you talk about AIDS, but, you know, AIDS wasn't airborne. You know, you got something, man, that spread it so fast killing people left and right, starting with the the older crowd. Now we got kids dying left and right. I'm here looking at this game. Look at all these games over the weekend. We got stands are filled back up again. People out there masked. Something's just not right, man. Something's just not right. Something's just not right, Professor. I mean, come on, man. Professor, historian Joe, something's not right, man. Something's not right.
Man, let me tell you something, man. The guy believes Trump is God. I mean, they create Jesus, the white man, and made him put Michelangelo and nephew as the image of Jesus, and people follow it. People follow it. I mean, they create witches and things. They make violence as a part of their culture. They think they're invincible. They think they lost the war, and that's the worst thing in the world America could do. And they lost their status on the world stage. Because it was all an illusion. A lot of it was an illusion anyway. Because most people don't want to fight. Because you don't want to fight and you dominate me, don't mean you won. You understand? You asked a profound question. What would make people go to parades, clubs, bars, football games, basketball games, unmasked and unvaccinated, knowing that the virus is out there? And you have to listen to some of the interviews. There's really no excuse, except for, they think they're invincible. We've been taking, you can't go to Africa without vaccines. If you want to travel internationally, you've been getting vaccines all your life. You don't even know what's in Tylenol. You don't know what's in half the foods you eat. You don't know, and they go, oh, well, I don't know what's in it. Well, you don't know what's in aspirin. But people trip like that. And that's why so many people who don't get their cultural consciousness together will follow this man to hell. And that hell is on earth. You understand? Because there are Black people that are vaccine hesitant and mask hesitant. And then they end up in the hospital saying, I wish I'd have done it. We got relatives in our own families. I just lost one of my best partners I played basketball with in high school. His son just died because he wouldn't get the shot. But, what can you say? We got people that they believe in herbs, they believe in natural healing. Hey, only thing you can do is pray for them or just hope for them. But that's the way the world has always been. That's the way it was in every pandemic. Believers and non-believers. I mean, there are people on the continent of Africa that you can give them a shot. They'll be just like the Black people in some of these communities. I'm not going to take it. They rather go to their traditional doctor. You understand? Native Americans, my traditional medicine man. You understand? People go in their own traditional remedy. Stand over a pot, put citrus in it, and inhale it, and they kill all virus. All kind of stuff is out there, bro. So, that's just the way they go. Especially these people in rural areas. All right, Aziza.
No, I don't have no comments at this moment. It was, good just listening to you guys dialogue.
All right then, brother, historian Hembrick.
Yes, sir. Well, I just have this to say to the doctor. He was talking about something just ain't right. For the last 500 years, ain't nothing been right. They decided 500 years ago that if anybody ruled the world, it was going to be one of them. That's when they carved up Africa and everything and started raping, other lands for their resources and whatnot. But if you don't have a foundation about yourself, getting back to know thyself, and the wind blows, you'll go for anything. If you don't have nothing to hold on to foundationally, culturally, about who you are and what you should be about. And they use that book to influence, the public about, what we should be and who we should be following, as far as the religious circles and whatnot go. But I'm here to tell you, it all comes back down to, you being grounded, and if you wanna know what to do, all you gotta do is look at nature. Nature will show you what you ought to be doing. The brother that was on, what was it, Monday night, the brother from New Earth, and he,
Yeah.
said something that was profound. He said, you look at animals. He was talking about breathing. You look at animals, and you see how they breathe compared to how we breathe. We always inflate our chest where we should be inflating our abdomen when we breathe. But we breathe the wrong way. I used to tell kids when I was PE teacher about running and breathing. And it's very important, to get oxygen to all aspects of your body. But like I say, nature will show us, we ain't got there yet. We think nature's just cutting the grass and watering it, eating a few vegetables, but it's much more than that. You got a marine nature, you got nature on land. And it's here to teach us how to live if we'll pay attention. But anyway, as long as you're using any aspects of your former conquering master, it ain't gonna never be right. Because he ain't right, don't know how to get right, and don't want to be right. All he want to do is dominate by any means necessary. That's his forte. So, you got to get to know thyself and your own stuff to survive in this jungle out here.
All right. Well, we're going to close out with just some comments on the election tomorrow. As far as the recall, I don't know how many of you vote, or how many of you think voting is important, but your opinion is important to us. So what did anybody think? Michelle, do you have any comments on the recall?
Well, I had kind of fell off a second. I lost connection. You talking about the recall of the governor of California?
Yes.
Well, I just hope that people wake up and understand what's going on. But obviously, brother Larry Elder has gotten a lot of publicity and things like that. He's got, the same type of power base that you have in Texas. You got those mentalities, all over the country. And so basically it's just a full on assault on truth. I mean, of course we can discuss truth. We talk about truth meaning just how we understand things, and based on empirical evidence, and again, how you interpret. But I just say that what's in play is, like I say, there's a power struggle. The corporation of America is under assault, like it's always has been, and I think Brother Hembrick, was dead on it when he talked about, the demographics as it relates to the world and as it relates to the United States. It's a far gone conclusion that they're at, basically 0% birth rate, and of course they are they, and so it's like last call. If you partied back in the day, if you party now, they got a saying, last call for alcohol. and it's the last. It's the party's just about over, and it's they're grabbing for everything, and they got some of us and different folks that are they're beyond enemy lines that are participating against the people, that I feel is of truth, and so this is another, I think I'm not a big fan of, say, the governor, Gavin. I'm not, I don't know a whole lot about him, just my little research. And, I understand politics to my degree. And of course, when it comes to the lesser of the evils, I have my selections and picks. And so I hope that the governor is allowed to stay in, we can break down his politics as it relates to, what he feels about abortion or what he feels about this or that, and that's a lot of people hide behind that, saying that this is the reason, death penalties, and oh, they don't believe in abortion, but you believe in the death penalty. It's like life is life. I don't, no matter, who are you or who are we to determine who's going to die, but it's legislated. And if you got depending on which regime is in action or in power, like they say, the last man, whoever, who the last man standing gets the right to, or woman, gets the right to history, gets to create the narrative and try to drag out the narrative as long as possible. But this narrative is coming to an end, in terms of the corporation. It's a global corporation. I talked to some lawyers that work for Freeport McMoran in New Orleans, vice presidents, high executives, and sitting down, and he took his tie off, and and I was with a friend of mine, and we just started, and anyway, to cut to the chase, he and I had a conversation, and he asked me what I did, and I told him, and I asked him what he did. He said, "Hey," he said, "I'm an attorney," and he started talking about how they go down in Indonesia and different places and pretty much rape the resources and create install puppet governments, create inner strife between the governments, the people that are living off the land and trying to do their thing. So what I'm saying is this drama has been going on way before I was born, and like Brother Hembrick said, last 500 years, where do we start? Where does, what part of the story do we want to talk about? But anyway, right now in this day and age, I'm in survival mode, and so, and that's where I'm at. And so, like I say, as far as the stability, in terms of how the people, I guess the majority, views the politics, and how they view their politics, and of course my politics as well. I'm in support of leaving the governor in there, and of course I might not, we can talk all day about some of his issues, but Larry Elder, again, it's kind of like this, to me, this is my opinion. You always got these Clarence Thomas, clones out there, different type of people, because of course you get, if you play with the enemy and you say you're a brother or sister, you're gonna get all kind of play, Omarosa, and we can name all these different people. It's easy to get popular as if you want to sell out and do your thing, it goes on these jobs and things like that, these little sub units of categories, like you have the community and your job and your politics and what's happening globally. So back to the California thing, I'm in support of the governor, staying in there. Do I like him? That's another story. Because we could talk about other popular people that's been in high positions. I don't necessarily have to like them or agree with certain things, but I'd rather have this person in there than that person. So that's just my little watered down type of answer for right now.
All right, good doctor. What's your position on the recall?
Hey, I turned in my ballot today, but I mean, California, man, it doesn't matter who the governor is. You got too many Hollywood people, money, to destroy it. Uh, Newsom comes back. I'm gonna say this. I've been kind of right in all the other elections, and I knew Trump was going to win. Uh, and you would ask me a year ago, I thought for sure it would be Cuomo and Newsom running mates, you know, for the next president. I for sure thought, and I thought they would win. Would have won, you know. But you saw what happened with Cuomo there in New York, and you see what's happening now with Newsom. Um, but one thing with Newsom, man, that always had me, just my opinion, afraid of him is when he was in there when he was over there in San Francisco as mayor. He had pushed that agenda. Hey, there's no stopping us now. We're coming. About a certain group, and that got me the wrong edge to him. I didn't vote for him in the last election. I'm gonna tell you that. Didn't vote for him on this one. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Who's the governor of California in this time and age. It doesn't matter, in my opinion. It's
Okay,
it doesn't matter. So
brother.
yeah.
Oh,
You
all right.
got some. Go ahead, Doc.
I wanna chime in a little bit, if you don't
All
mind.
right, go ahead.
I was for the Democratic Party throughout the most of my life, but now I'm not. The Democrats is not too far from the Republicans. We're in a capitalistic society, and everything's about capital. You can be conservative or you can be liberal, and it's the same agenda, just in a different way. So I had to go with what I think is more, practical, which is Libertarian or Green Party. So that I kind of read up on them and see what they're about. I know it may not be popular amongst my peers, but I'm more so into maybe socialism a little bit, something like that. So I was against it. I'm for the recall, and like I said, that may not be popular amongst my peers, but that's what it. And I went libertarian. So it is what it is. I think we, as the position that Black people are in, I see that we need to reform our thinking, period. The majority of us. I'm in the process of reforming minds, and we need to learn how to make adjustments living in a disadvantaged society. We're at a disadvantage because we don't have the power. So I say we need to change the way we think. I'm gonna be writing about it. I'm gonna have a book about it, and we have to learn how to make some adjustments to whatever's going on. And I'm with Brother Joe. We need to get with nature, and I'm definitely with nature in every which way and form. So, all right, that's all I got to say.
All right, brother, Sister Aziza. Sister Aziza.
No, I'm sorry. I don't have any comments right now.
All right,
Thank you.
then good. Brother Hembrecht.
Yes, sir. Let me just say this. I got to chime out here, but let me state my case about the political thing. I've said it before. When it comes to politics and all of that, I don't suffer from the illusion of inclusion. First of all, and in the words of a dear friend of me and Professor Ra, a brother by the name of Kareem Akil, he used to always say, when it comes to politics, truth ain't nothing but a word that rhymes with Baby Ruth. I used to put on a lot of, political forums and whatnot. All of them lying, they scheming and scamming. And I just want to end with this as far as truth. And this is from Society Red, old hustler that schooled me back when I was a teenager. He'd say, young man, when it comes to the truth, you can blow it up, bury it, shoot it, but truth always rises and takes its proper place. So I'm going to end with that. And good night, all.
All right. Let me just close out by saying this. Politics is war without violence, and war is politics with violence. There's no morals and no ethics when it comes to politics. Well, people, especially those running for office, they hope something bad come up with the opponent. But you vote your interest. Black people fought for our right to vote. Problem is, voting's not the problem. It's how you educate yourself and what you're voting for. You don't vote for the lesser of the evil. You vote for those that are most supportive of some of the issues you support. I've been involved in politics. I've been elected to office 3 times. School board, college board, and city council. You go in there with a black agenda, you get attacked. You go to, I got convicted of trumped up charges, but people read the newspaper, they just believe it. No one ever asked me what happened. But let me just get back to this. I'm against the recall because it's not to my interest to support Larry Elder. Supporting Larry Elder and voting for the recall, you voting for Trump. Again, Larry Elder is big money, as Machinda said, and Uncle Thomas. That's how Clarence Thomas got to be Supreme Court justice. That's how a lot of black people, as Malcolm pointed out, love to be on the White House lawn. There's big money in collaborating with the power structure to oppress others. Libertarian socialism, this country is already socialist. That's where Social Security comes from. That's where Medicare comes from. That's where taxes come from. They make you think they capitalist, but they just greediest. When only 3% of the people got all the money in the world. And you say, okay, I'm not going, you got black people that, I ain't gonna vote, I ain't in it, I'm out. You got some black people that say, look, all of them crooked, so it don't make no difference. You got black people that's just against what the system doing. I'm gonna be against it. Then you got black people that really are into politics. Now, if you don't, here you got your major political leaders in electoral politics, two parts of politics, of leadership. That's the European elected politics. And then there's intercultural politics. The Europeans try to choose our leaders for us. Yes. The most important politics is local politics. That's your school board, your city council. That affects you personally. But statewide and national politics affect you too, because they deal with policies and laws. And they make laws and policies that affect you. Like Steve Bradford wrote a law to decertify police who get dismissed from their job, where they can't go down the street and get another job as a police. Do you think Larry Elder is gonna sign that bill if it get past the Senate and the Congress and the Assembly? He'll veto it. You sit there and you say, well, you know, I'm for nature. Larry Elder is for oil drilling everywhere. You say you for better education. You got a black superintendent of education here in the state of California. We ain't said a word. We've had them before. Haven't said a word. In order to make politicians responsible, you got to make them responsible by rewarding or punishing them. Either you give big money to their campaigns, or either you take votes away from them and get them out of office. But Larry Elder, and you know, I'm not going to attack him personally. Years ago, I would have. I was on this show once. Doing against police abuse, and he was for defending the police. This is a man that said white people need to be considered to get reparations for the slaves, that the people that they enslaved, that they lost. And not voting is voting for him. Or voting for the recall, you're voting for Larry Elder, because he is the front runner, and whoever the front runner becomes your governor. Second, Feinstein may be retiring. You think Larry Elder going to appoint a black woman or one to be senator, or somebody courageous to stand up for black people? So you need to think about your politics and educate yourself. It's good to have an opinion, a personal opinion, and a personal practice, but make sure it's substantive, that you do your homework. We've been in this struggle a long time. If your vote wasn't important, why are they trying to suppress it? Why? In Texas, Florida, all them southern states. Why are they trying to suppress it? Because it is important. That's why you got the Supreme Court you got. Anyway, this has been a beautiful day. And we love each and every one of you for coming in. And we thank all y'all for your comments. And next week, we're going to be going again on critical issues that affect the quality of life of Black people. Education, organization, education, mobilization, organization, confrontation equals transformation. It's easy. It's hard work, as Brother Doctor say, you retired, but the virus ain't gonna retire. You can say you retired, but white racism ain't gonna retire. You can say you can be comfortable in your own oppression and just stay in your little house, but they'll come in there and get you. Or have you locked up in there where you can't come out with the virus. You have something to say, Big Joe? So anyway,
I want to, keep putting this on people's minds about themselves. Like the brother from New Earth said the other day, we need to focus on our mind, spirit and body, and work on our health so we can stay in the fight and last a long time and be able to pass stuff on. So that was it. And when I say that, I don't suffer from illusion of inclusion in voting. I do vote. I stay on top of the issues and all of that. But what it amounts to me is slim and none. You know, the whole concept of democracy, like Malcolm saying, nothing but disguised hypocrisy. So I think our people need to be, you know, about other things, stronger. You know, like the Booker T. Washington model, I think, is what we need to gravitate to. You know, Booker T. Garvey and Malcolm. I think the things that they were saying is stuff that we need to adhere to today.
And many of us are. We wouldn't be where we are
Right.
if we didn't practice it knowingly or unknowingly. You wouldn't have a Black working class. You wouldn't have a Black, it's not a middle class because we don't have a Black upper class. We do have a Black lower class. Our working class is our upper class. But the point is that struggle is a continuous thing. And as Frederick Douglass said, without struggle, there's no progress. Never will be, never has been. So if you don't want to struggle, it's okay. Others will. Others will. Because where there's injustice, there's, as I said, as Martin Luther King said, the moral arc is long, but it always bends toward justice. So I want to say good night to everybody. This was a healthy discussion. I learned a lot, and I hope you enjoyed it. And we hope to see you this Wednesday. Brother Rashaki, you want to make announcements?
Yes, we have a comedian, impressionist, educator, Straw, Geronimo Pratt's nephew. He's on Wednesday, and the title is 500 Voices.
All right.
All right, each one teach one.
All right then, brother.
Conscious Corner.
Yeah. Good night, everybody. $2,000.